Hello and welcome to the A-List. I'm Colin Hughes. With me today is former RB coach and Brookfield Little League coach, Dan Hall. Welcome.
Hey, thank you.
So let's jump right in. How did you get started in coaching?
I had 3 daughters, and I was always an athlete myself. So one of my daughters went out for girls softball at Kiwanis Park, and I remember it was in 1977, and that's when I started coaching. And that's how I got into coaching girls.
So what did that require of you, coaching, just at the Little League level?
Well, I took it serious just like I took it serious when I played myself. And I coached the girls and started teaching them fundamentals. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot to learn from coaching girls, other than I've coached boys before and men's teams also in sports. But girls obviously think a lot different than boys or men and about the game. But the basic thing was I just taught them just how I would teach if I had sons, you know. Mm-hmm. And we worked every day. Yeah. But I made it fun for them, so they were there every day. Mm-hmm. And I didn't make long practices.
Right. So your experience, how did you get into sports and where did you play? I had 3 older brothers, 2 older sisters. And I played with my brothers in men's basketball leagues, 16-inch softball leagues. My great uncle was a head scout for the New York Giants back when there were only 16 teams. So I just loved sports. Every waking moment of my life, I was out playing basketball, football, baseball. And I played everywhere in all kinds of amateur leagues throughout Chicago. And then when I went in the Air Force, I played 2 years in the Air Force, traveling the Far East to Korea, Okinawa, playing basketball and football on the Air Force team. Very cool. And while you were in the Air Force, before you started playing sports, they had you doing something else, right?
Yes, I was in the United States Air Force Security Service. I was called a Morse intercept operator. I copied Morse code. I went to a 6-month school in Keesler Air Force Base in Mississippi.
Very cool. So jumping back in on the sports, after the Air Force, did you go right into coaching after that, or did you do?
No, I came home, and I joined the police department in Brookfield. I was a police officer, and one of the guys asked me if I would help him out with his boys basketball team at Washington School in Lyons. They couldn't get a coach for the team. So I coached for him there, and I coached for another officer, asked me to help him in the Brookfield American Little League. Mm-hmm. So I coached his son there a couple of years. And all the while, I was coaching men's basketball teams and 16-inch softball teams also.
So that must have been kind of hard to balance between being a police officer and coaching some different teams.
My brother coached with me.
Yeah.
So if there was anything I made almost everything. But if there was something I couldn't make, he was there to carry on while I wasn't there.
Very cool. So while you were a police officer, what kind of stuff did you do? Were you just a patrol officer?
I was a patrol officer, and then I progressed. I was a sergeant. I went to the FBI Academy, and I became a lieutenant. And I put in a little over 20 years. I had an opportunity to go into a business, so I retired right after I got my 20 years in. Very
nice. So what business did you go into after?
I owned the bar and grill by Hollywood train station. Mm-hmm. I think now it's called Johnny B's. Yeah. I had that for 5 years.
Yeah, and obviously you don't anymore, unfortunately, right?
No, I sold that, and I went to work for Cook County Sheriff's Police Internal Affairs Division, and I retired from there.
Have any good stories about the internal affairs?
Oh yes, there's lots of good stories. Everyone thinks it's a rotten job or it's a hard job, and it's not, because I deal with good police officers every day. And if somebody makes a mistake,
you just handle it. It's a mistake. But if somebody's bad or something, I have no qualms about getting rid of them.
Right.
Because you don't want those in your profession.
Right.
So
let's go back to the baseball story. You coached the Little League softball team, and it was the 1985 team that ended up winning the Little League World Series.
yes, we won the World Series.
So want to talk about that because that's pretty exciting.
It was exciting. It was. We won 13 games in a row, and we went from here. And these are 12-year-old girls. You wouldn't believe how good they were. I mean, they were so good on defense. We practiced 2 times a day. In the morning, when I got off work, I was working the midnight shift at a police department. We practiced for an hour and a half. And you know how it started out, we were practicing on the RB football field every night for an hour and a half. And the girl said, we want to practice more. And I said, I can't practice more because I get off at early in the morning. I have to get some sleep.
Yeah.
You know, and you girls aren't going to get up at 7 when I get off work to practice. So I get off, I go to sleep, I wake up to practice, then I have to go back to sleep. The next morning I woke up and walked out, I got off work and walked out the back door at 7 o'clock and all the girls were standing there. So we practiced, as soon as I got off work from about 7 to 8:30, we practiced on the football field at night for an hour and a half. And they were just so, you wouldn't believe how good they were for their age.
Yeah. So after you guys put in a lot of practice, you ended up being able to go to the World Series.
We won Brookfield. We won the region here. We went through Rockford, then we had to go through Indiana, and the World Series was in Kalamazoo, Michigan. It was a little stadium. It was just beautiful, and they had softball fields all around it, so that each team there could practice with their team anytime they wanted to. Okay, and we won the first games, and that we wound up in the end. We had to play California. We had beat them 3-2. They play 6 innings. We beat them 3-2 in extra innings in 7 innings. The first game. The second game for the championship, we went 8 innings and we beat them 1-0. And we were the first team in our 13-state Midwest to ever win the World Series, because it's easier for California, Florida, because they practice all year round.
Right.
You know, they can play all year round. Whereas here we're limited to just the summer.
Right.
The girls don't get much softball practice in the winter in Chicago, you know. And we got such acclaim. We were on Channel 7. TV had us on.
Yeah.
And I told you we got a letter from President Reagan, autograph, congratulate us, governors from all the states. We were wined and dined our team when we came home. They took us everywhere. It was really an accomplishment.
Awesome. Yeah.
And we won 13 games in a row.
That's awesome. And then it did Brookfield some good too, right?
Oh yeah, we went before the House and Senate in Springfield, and they proclaimed Brookfield the home of girls softball in Illinois.
That's pretty
which
awesome.
is really an accomplishment.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Hall, thank you for coming in today and talking to us. It's been a pleasure. I'm Colin Hughes. We'll see you next time on the A-List.